question about charts with search terms. Do you recall your question? Or
Yeah.
would you read it?
Yeah, I think I've seen reports generated from different companies, different SEO companies, and one in particular had keyword charts. So I was trying to do something similar, but I didn't have access to the Google Keyword Planner. And the Bing one was like, it threw up some really unrelated results. So I don't know if it's like a two-part question of like, how do you incorporate a chart to make it look like you've got research and data behind you, but also be relevant, like more relevant to your customer.
Right. So we're talking about keyword research reports, right? Yeah. So when we're determining how we should talk about our clients' products and services, how do we convey more people search for your service this way than that way, right? And I'm glad you're asking, because so many times when we do keyword research, we don't put a number of some sort of value behind a word. And so we kind of end up optimizing for a word that nobody else is searching for, right? So in Curious Ants, I offer four different ways of collecting data, or is it three? So one is use Google Trends, which gives you a value between 0 and 100. Two is use Bing Webmaster Tools, which is a really great tool. And you might say, oh, well, why do I care what Bing says? Well, if people search for it on Bing, they probably search for it on Google, and we're just looking to put a value there. My preferred way is using Google Keyword Planner in the Google Ads interface. However, to do that, you have to have at least one paid account.
Right.
And you can sign up for an account and never use it, and then have some numbers to be available through Keyword Planner. Because Google will allow you to use a Keyword Planner, assuming you're planning to do an AdWords campaign.
Okay.
But the data there is a little bit limited because it will give you a range. It won't give you a number. It'll say there are between 100 and 1,000 people who search on this every month. Well, that's still better. It's still a number, and it's still better than nothing. Depending on your clients or your client's budget, it might be worth setting up a small AdWords campaign. When I say small, no more than $500. Just don't spend. Like, Google makes a lot of money by people who pay a lot of money into AdWords and don't know what they're doing. That's but it might be worth that, because that would be cheaper than a keyword tool. And maybe that's the way you see it, and just put a little money in so you get access to the tool.
If you do that, do you are you required to be actively running ads with that? No, just have the money there. Okay.
Well, have at least started and stopped an AdWords campaign.
Okay.
Right. And so it probably spent a little bit of money with Google, and I don't know to what extent. Again, I'm not recommending you spend. I built Curious Ants to help people without having to spend for additional tools.
Right.
Because there's a lot of SEO tools out there that are more than happy to take your money. And some of them are good and some of them are not that great, but I would like to empower you to do things with the free tools available.
Yeah.
So there are limitations. Like, there are other keyword planning tools. One I like is called keyword.io, and they will give you some numbers, but you have to pay them. And frankly, it's fair because they have to pay for the API to do it. I think Neil Patel has a couple tools like that. SEMrush it's a very expensive tool, which I find very poor, but people love it. I don't understand
Yeah,
why.
I think I worked for somebody who had me run reports from that, like, I don't know, sometime in the vague past.
Yeah, I've tried using it and I don't find it useful at all. I find it confusing and overwhelming. And when you know where they get their data, it has less credibility in my mind.
Okay.
I like Ahrefs, but that's a very expensive SEO tool. And I think I'm going to stop using Ahrefs and go back to Majestic because Ahrefs is a lot more than I need it to. But yeah, if you can get the data from Keyword Planner, that's going to be the best. But better, but I don't want to make you pay for more tools.
Right. Like I said, like I got a lot of info and I think it's probably fine. It's just like putting some numbers behind it.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, there is a SEO strategy where some people will, before they do organic search, do a paid search campaign. Because you can use paid search almost as a keyword finding opportunity too. Again, I don't recommend that normally, but if a client really needs to start fast, paid search is great because you pay money and immediately start getting traffic. And you can start to see how people are searching for you. And better if you have conversion set up, then you can see what people convert with. And now you know what to optimize for and try to get for free.
Right. That's a specific strategy,
right,
for that. But
yeah, but there's like AdWords. I'm so frustrated. I manage a lot of AdWords campaigns. I'm so frustrated with AdWords right now because they have taken away a lot of the customization we used to be able to do. They've automated stuff so we have less control. I can't limit to a keyword anymore. I have to trust that Google is serving my ads to what they think is relevant, which it's not always relevant.
Yeah.
They don't even allow me to create ads that I like. I have to create and let them serve the ads that they think will help. I have to trust that they have my interest at heart and their interest is for their shareholders, not for me. So does that help?
It does. It does. I just, wanted to make sure I was looking at the right places, but also, trying to have some data and not just, I think this is a great word.
Yeah.
This is right.
And I like Bing Webmaster Tools for that. Mm-hmm. The numbers are a lot smaller in Bing because the traffic is a lot smaller. So if you were to compare Google versus Bing from a keyword number tool, the numbers would be significantly smaller. So it might be such a small phrase on Bing that there's no data, but it would have a little bit of data in Google. However, if you can find a phrase that a lot of people are looking for in Bing, then surely a lot of people are looking for it in Google. And if you find a phrase in Bing that definitely has search volume, then you should definitely optimize that in Google, even if you don't have specific Google data. And hopefully the keyword research process helps you see that we want to have limited, more focused phrases. But when we limit and focus our phrases, there's always going to be fewer people searching for them.
Right.
So we can optimize for widgets or, gears or engines. And there's a lot of people searching for engines, but not all of them want to buy an engine. Mm-hmm. Some of them need services on an engine. Some of them need how to fix it. So when we limit it to engine services, dramatically fewer people are searching for that. And that becomes a problem when you get to Bing, because really quickly then numbers drop off to zero, even though people are searching.
Right. Okay. So it is a good and useful search.
Yeah. Another way of looking at, especially if the client already has Bing or even Google Search Console installed, you can look and see what phrases are already getting traffic.
Right.
And use that as a starting point.
I think that's like slightly okay. I was looking at one site and they're getting a lot of traffic, but it's not quite right.
Right.
It's not for the right thing for their business. So
that means if are you looking at that data in Search Console?
yes.
Yeah. So that means the page isn't clear enough to describe what they offer. So either keyword research hasn't been done or keyword research was done incorrectly to not really understand what the product is. Now, Google is always going to send irrelevant traffic.
Right.
And sometimes with Search Console, the data is always what your website and page and queries for that website are currently. And you might be optimized for the right phrase, but not ranking for it yet. So you're not getting any traffic. The traffic you're getting is irrelevant. That's a possibility. But because SEO is sometimes very difficult for certain phrases. And so just because Search Console shows no traffic data, impressions, or clicks for a phrase does not mean it's the wrong phrase. It just means that Google isn't showing you enough to get data yet. And there might be other things you need to do to optimize that page because you might already have the right word.
Okay.
How many clients do actually start from keywords and then start building on the top of it? It usually comes kind of reverse engineering, right?
Yeah.
They already have things and then you kind of assess the website and that and find out what's not.
Yep.
working.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. I still always start with keyword research just to see what's coming, knowing that. But yeah, I will always look back in my data and say, oh, here's a good opportunity. I didn't even notice. Yeah.
But ideally, you do that before you have the copy even.
Exactly.
Right? Like that would be perfect, but
Right. It's funny how clients will sometimes avoid talking about what they have to offer. It's the same phenomenon, I think, that sometimes clients have a hard time asking for the sale. Hey, would you buy this from us? They're afraid that they're going to make someone angry or not or alienate them or run them away by saying, would you like to use this service from us? Would you like to buy the product from us? And they're so subtle that they end up not really being very clear. And they might be found by their customer who wants what they have, but because they don't talk about it directly and they don't offer a clear call to action, that's why I think one of the early steps is conversion rate optimization, because oftentimes my biggest wins on new clients come from the fact that they don't clearly show people how to contact them. And just simply adding a button to allow people to get to the contact page, or like one of my clients, I went into the CSS and I made their phone number bigger. And that alone brought them phone calls because they were just too afraid. Well, we don't want to be obnoxious. Well, people aren't visiting your website because they're curious and want to waste their time. They want something from you. Make it easy. Don't waste their time. Make it easy and clear, and talk about what you offer. If you offer high performance sports undergarments, nobody knows what that is. But if the high performance sports garment is better than underwear, well, then talk about underwear and how you're better than underwear, because that's what people look for.
Yeah.
And people don't know what a high performance sports undergarment is. So you might be afraid of using the word, but you got to talk about what you are, at least in a category people understand.
And so when you audit the website to see what's performing and not, in terms of, you said, let's say the phone number, maybe some buttons where they are, when you audit which buttons are more clicked than others, or which form on which page, which tool do you mostly use? How do you track it? How do you?
Right. When I first start with a client, I will frankly use my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when I need to use data, I like to use Microsoft Clarity, which is a free tool from Microsoft Bing that allows you to watch people interacting with the website. It's a wonderful tool because it does for free what a lot of expensive tools allow you to do, have to pay for. And it's easy to set up. It's just great. The amount of information in there is really great. It does make a website load slowly. So I will add it and then remove it, and then add it and remove it. But honestly, the first thing I do when I get a client is I just look and use my eyes to see if I've even heard people say they blur their eyes when they look at a website. Like, is it really obvious how to contact you? That even if your eyes are blurred, you can still tell there's a big button right here. And if I push that button, I can accomplish what I want. That's day one stuff. But after that, a tool like Microsoft Clarity can really provide the data to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm missing is an A/B testing tool. So if you find a good A/B testing tool, I'm all about that. I would love to hear your recommendations. But Google Optimize is going away.
Okay.
So I don't have a replacement for that yet.